Green is the new gold. Our 18-hole Nicklaus design, award-winning golf course and clubhouse will leave you green with envy. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Good afternoon and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Real Talk with me, your host, Anele, right here on SABC3 where the stage is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, brace yourselves because our guest today, after having established herself in the UK theatre scene in the 90s, decided to come back to her ancestral home, South Africa, where she became one of the biggest names on South African television, playing Tsikilo Kele on Generations between 1996 and 2001. Her acting is so impeccable that awards have become somewhat of a second nature, okay? She won Best Actress at the African Oscars in 2015 for a film called Kingmakers in the UK. She won Best Actress for Zulu Love Letter from Zimbabwe Women's Film Festival and at the FESPACO Film Festival. I hope I'm saying that right. She also got Best Supporting Actress in Nothing But the Truth at the Naledi Awards. And really, when I say the list goes on, I mean exactly that. I'm sure you're kind of wondering, who is she talking about? Wait a minute. It is the one, the only Pamela Nomvete. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Gosh, what a great introduction.
I know, I stayed up all night.
Yeah, I was going, who's that?
Like,
who's she talking about?
It's like, wait. But it's all true. This is the thing
Yes.
as well, you know?
Yeah, thank
this is
you.
why you have things like this, because
Right.
it is all true. So here's the funny thing. From the first time I laid eyes on you as a child, right? My family was also pretty obsessed with James Bond. So we as a family decided that in the event M should pass away, Judi Dench, the only explanation for the next M is Pamela Nomvete.
Oh, that is what I'd love to
Right.
say, I would love something like that, actually.
Really, M? Sometimes I don't think you have the brains for this job. You know what I'm saying?
Fabulous.
And she's always got like some quirky retort, and she's quick on her mark. And when they killed her in, not Casino Royale, the one with Adele, Skyfall, they killed
Oh,
her in
yeah,
Skyfall.
I love it. You're obviously a fan of James Bond.
No, we were like, where's Pamela?
Oh, that's so brilliant. Thanks. I think you're speaking into my life.
Listen,
That's
the
what
day
I'll
I
do.
run into anybody, even the person who gets the water on James Bond, I'll be like, listen here, y'all are sleeping on something.
Yeah, fantastic.
Here's our home girl.
Yeah.
Look, born in Ethiopia, right? This is you.
Yes, born in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, in a Russian hospital at that.
Oh, look,
So
you
one
are
of those
quite
things.
colorful.
Yes,
you weren't
exactly.
lying. You weren't. What's home to you then? I mean, when you think of home, is it where you were born? Is it where you grew up? Is it, you know, what speaks to you the most?
You know, I still think I'm trying to work that one out. But I think for me, home is just beyond a space. Do you know what I mean? I think now I'm just connecting with me.
Yeah.
And because growing up, really, home was where our family was. It
And
was
then
the
you were in
home.
Zambia.
Exactly,
And
all
then you were
over
in
the
UK,
place.
and then-
Exactly. But my mother just created this base. So I often say to people that my country was my family, and it really was.
Wow.
That's what I associated as a country. Because when other people were talking about being attached to where they come from, the only thing I could relate to was
Was a
that's how I
feeling.
feel about my family.
Was a feeling.
Yeah.
I liked in your book you said, my parents never forgot to be parents.
Yeah.
Unpack that for me.
Well, I mean, their lives were unbelievable. My father was an economist. When we were in Addis Ababa, it was like the heart of the African Union. So, and there were freedom fighters coming in and out of our house.
Girl, Thabo Mbeki babysat you.
He did.
Did he read you like a bedtime story with that voice? I am an African.
Well, yeah, we weren't, because he's always been charismatic.
Yeah.
So we were always enthralled by him. You know, this guy, cool. He was cool.
Like this distinguished gentleman.
Yeah, well, I mean, what you see now, he was
Is
more
the
like,
polished version.
Yeah, exactly. He was more like the cool uncle. He's so cool.
Just got it.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I love?
Yes.
Is a story you said that every New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
At countdown, your dad would take you guys and you'd get in the car and you'd honk, right?
the horn.
You'd honk the horn to bring in the new year.
Yeah.
What's the equivalent to that now? What do you always do as tradition?
Drink champagne.
My girl.
But yeah, but you're right in that I love New Year. I'm not too au fait with Christmas. And a lot of people go, what, you don't like Christmas? And they love New Year. They don't get why I love New Year.
Yeah.
But I love New Year, and it's because of that.
Okay.
Its connotations. It just takes me right back.
When
Joy.
I know. It's, you know, there's certain
Joy,
things
joy,
like,
joy.
like there's a smell can take you back to a specific place. You know, or a
Exactly.
sound. I think
Yeah.
for you, you know,
Yeah.
people could honk at you in traffic. You're like, Happy New Year! You like daydreaming. You've forgotten that the traffic light is open. They're like, beep, beep, Happy
I think they'll commit me. But hey, why not?
It's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine.
When I hear and read about your high school life in the British school, where
Yes.
was it? Charleston.
Cheltenham Ladies College.
Oh, good heavens.
Yes, and it was very much that.
You
for
wore
them.
blazers, right? And ties.
You can see it.
Hats?
Yeah, green uniform. We had to wear the hats.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was all that. It was, and even we had to. It was sort of a Church of England school as well. So it was very British establishment, very proper. But we weren't though. That was the joke.
Because you said there was a friend of
were.
yours, the only other black girl.
Yeah.
And you guys started being friends, and then the headmistress was like, I see this ghetto that you guys are trying to start here.
Can you imagine?
How do you deal with that in a foreign country, far away from home, without your parents and your kids?
Well, exactly. In fact, recently I was saying to someone, they were asking me about Cheltenham, and I said it was a culture shock. So they were saying, in what way? But it was all of that, you know. And at that time, when we were in England, around, you're talking like 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of racism. And I faced it even at school, you know, like that. I mean, a principal thinking that it's okay to say that, oh, you know, you two are forming a ghetto. Why? Because we're both black and African. What do you mean?
And also, there's 900 people here. There's two of us. I don't think we could start a ghetto if we tried.
I don't think so. And anyway, what do you mean by a ghetto? You know, we come from good homes.
My dad is an economist.
Yes, exactly, my dad.
He's out here
He works
wanting
for the
one
United
currency
Nations.
for Africa. You leave me alone. But how do you I mean, as a kid, because I know I
Yeah.
also went through like racist experiences as a kid,
Yeah.
but when you're a kid, you're just like, this one didn't sleep properly, you know? How do you recognize that it's that and something in you says revolt against it?
Well, I think because I knew I was the minority, 900 girls, and then I had this extraordinary experience of being in church, and the priests, gosh, and you know, it was that thing of when you go into church, obviously it was like every Sunday we gotta go to church, so you'd cut off, you know, fall asleep, not really
What he
listen to
said
the
last
sermon.
week, he's gonna say next week.
Yeah, exactly. So you sort of switch off. And I remember being in that mode and then suddenly hearing this man saying, these black people, you know, I was watching them on TV last night and they are spawns of the devil. God has given up on them. Actually, even the devil has given up. And I remember sitting there just going, what? So I thought, okay, first thing to do is don't react. You know,
Look
thought
for
of
your
my
fellow
I could
ghetto.
feel my parents behind me going, don't react. So I thought, don't react. So I turned to see my peers, my white peers, because I thought if they're responding,
Yeah.
I'm hearing right.
Yeah.
And they were all going, oh my God. And I thought, great, we're leaving. So I just said, okay, I'm out. And I stood up and walked out. And then it was interesting because the sort of the stage hands, I was going to say.
You're such a theatre person.
So sorry, yeah. The helpers in
yes,
the
yes.
church came rushing to me when I was walking out the door, and they were saying, you know, well, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? And I said, well, didn't you just hear him? He just insulted me. I can't stay. And they, every single one of them said, we're so sorry. You know, he goes off sometimes. So I thought, okay, good. It's not me.
Okay.
I'm not overreacting.
being
I
sensitive.
haven't got a chip on my shoulder. This is real.
Something was said.
Yeah.
I hate to do this, but we have to take a quick break. Stay tuned for more of Pamela Nomvete on the way. Don't forget, though, to enter our weekly giveaway competition where you can win yourself a 5,000 Rands e-gift card. Simply use the details on the screen that you see right now, and it could be your name that I announce this coming Friday. Come back to us. And welcome back to Real Talk. Today we're joined by actress, writer, although she doesn't want to admit that she's a writer, author. Won't admit to being an author either. But you know what? You know her. She's Pamela Nomvete. You and I were talking about this just before we went live. Is that, I mean, you've got this book and yet you still like, you're like, I don't know if I'm an author yet. What would make you an author in your eyes then?
You know what? You're quite right. I really don't know. And the funny thing is that when I did write it, I thought, no, I'm going to write this because I have a story to tell. And in the hope that other people who think that they aren't writers will write. Because if you've got a story to tell, you should write, you know? It's that thing.
Because I did get a deep sense of being able to relate to you.
Yes.
And agreeing with you and seeing certain things that I see happening in the industry with me. And I'm like, yes. So then, so then I was like, oh, maybe like one day I'm going to be like Pamela, be like, I'm going to tell them what.
Absolutely.
You absolutely have to. So you used to sit in the UK with your sister and watch soapies and wish for that life and be like,
can you believe it?
And you
and then it happened.
And then it happened. You became you know, English came to me late in life because obviously I was in the pantry stands. But household name is a term I got quickly, and you were that. You know, when it came, obviously you're accepting of it initially, right?
No, because I never ever imagined
that it would
because you're like you. I mean, household name, all over the place. You know, what is that actually? And yes, I saw other people were household name. Me, a household name? No, because it was, you know, to be honest, when I was first on Generations, when I went for the audition, it was for a femme fatale. That was the breakdown.
Okay.
Femme fatale. Few episodes. I think there was going to be about 5 episodes, and that's it. So I'm still the actress going, okay, I'm going to go for this audition. Went there, did this thing, thought, oh, fantastic, femme fatale, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, in Tiki was born.
Tiki looked killing. Like, I remember you.
And not a femme fatale at all.
Dude, you used to talk, and I'd be like, yo, she's angry. She's speaking through her teeth, guys. You remember you used to like grit your mouth and like, Sarah Lee, girl, you're not going to live to see tomorrow. Do you know what I'm saying? And how you dated Cello?
No comment. Honestly, that's so funny because now, who was it? Where are you?
Someone here.
Someone here was going, I want names. And I thought, it's deliberately not there. And then look at you, Miss Thing.
Sorry, I have no decorum. Like I say, people come to this couch and they look at me, they're like, oh, really?
I love it.
You're going to go there? But I wouldn't take you anywhere where I'm not willing to go. So,
sure,
like,
absolutely.
But and the reason it like, the words jumped out of the book and into my face is because I was like, that is an explosion of talent, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's a meeting of minds.
Yeah, completely. And actually, I owe Generations in many ways to him because we were working together in the theater. And he was saying, you know, there's this show, Generations, which I knew because he was in it.
Yeah.
And he said, in fact, they're auditioning now for a part that I think maybe you should go up for. So it was him that suggested it. And I said, oh, all right then. Where is it? And he said, yeah, just go ahead. And we have the same agent.
Yeah.
So I called her up and said, Silla says there's this thing going on. And she said, yeah, all right, shall we get you an audition? That's how it happened. So actually, he opened that door.
Okay, so it wasn't a proper explosion then.
Yeah.
But then you also then paid like kind of a love interest with him on the show every now and then.
Yeah, because I was obsessed with him, wasn't I?
I mean, you know,
was...
obviously, who wouldn't be obsessed with an ad agent guru
exactly.
who sways into a room?
And he really did.
Do you know?
Wasn't he brilliant?
He was. He really was.
Brilliant actor. Brilliant.
And I mean, what he had said about Generations is that for him, the downfall came in not being able to give input in how characters develop, because if you're wanting to write about a black man in South Africa in 1995, maybe you should ask a black man in South Africa in 1995, you know? But for you, you've always been kind of questioning how South African you are. So surely that wasn't your gripe with the entire thing. What was your gripe with the show?
Do you know what? I think there were many things. But to do with where I was at, you know, it was really about me. Because I think ultimately, whatever we face in life, it's really how you respond to it, isn't it? In the end, it's always about you and where you're at. So depending on where you're at internally, you'll respond to it in a different way, and then it will react to you in the way that you respond. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So yes, exactly. Identity crisis, fame, you know, all this weird stuff that I hadn't planned for.
But I mean, I've spoken to a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
None of them tell me that their neighbors were sitting outside their window watching them.
Yo, it was insane. You know, and things like being in that house, because you know the little townhouses?
Yes.
And that little patch of grass.
That's yours.
Right.
It's small, but it's mine.
They were there, and they were going, and they'd be like, hey, oh, you know, Sinsiki, and they'd watch me. And then some would come and knock on the door with their babies. Hello, say hello. And I'm going, I don't think this kid even knows who I am. So there was all that going on, which in the end meant me closing curtains.
But now, I mean, if your own space of property can't be your solace, then obviously if you're going to the local supermarket to buy some eggs.
Oh, forget it. It's over. How? I mean, how do you? Isn't this happening to?
I'm fine, eh?
Yeah, because I can see you can handle it very
Me, I'm
well.
normal. I'm like, hey, Tada. We just out here to get some eggs, man. Let's just do that. But also, I don't know. You must remember, Generations was 10 million viewers. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, I like the way you like to be like, I mean, you and me, no, babe, we're not the same. Like, let's just get that clear. Like, Tsiki Lukele was like Brooke Logan.
Yeah, she was.
Do you see what
She
I'm saying?
was. Yeah,
so
yeah. She was
you
huge.
downplaying yourself again.
Oh, okay, stop.
This is
Stop.
what you're doing.
Yeah, no, won't do that.
Did someone ever slap you? I thought it was.
Yes! Oh, often. But one was a particularly interesting one in that I went into this supermarket, as you do.
Yeah.
You know, buying whatever I did, the eggs.
Yeah.
And suddenly this woman comes up to me and she's going, you did that last night. And I'm thinking, what is she talking about? And then I realized, it must
Ntiki.
have been such an episode, because of course we're shooting ahead. And then she started naming the person and she was like, you're so, and she was upset. It wasn't even as if I could laugh it off. So I was kind of going,
Guys, I don't think you can ever laugh anyone slapping you off. Do the producers not think to get you security?
oh, wow. I remember there was a big thing, and it was quite interesting because I don't know if you guys remember this, but there was an actress who
Florence.
got shot.
Florence
Remember
Marseille.
that? Freak out. And I remember, I think it was just before then, I'd been watching one of those weird crime shows.
Yeah.
And they were talking, an actress.
Celebrity
and
obsessions.
Celebrity, yes. And this girl was actually shot outside her house when I was watching The Celebrity. And then this thing happened with Florence. And I remember things like, you see, there were things like that then got me. And I was like, oh my God. And not long after that, there was a young man who had been sort of communicating with me, kind of.
Yeah.
And I remember, he used to call me. I'd get these texts. I don't know how he got my number. And then he'd call me. And I remember actually saying, you know what? I don't know what this is about. I don't know where you got, but leave me alone, okay? I'm sitting in the studio one day and they're doing my makeup. And I hear this voice. I thought, that's familiar. And of course, I'd never seen him. So I thought, what the hell? And I sort of turned to look. I was thinking, who is this person? And he spoke again. And then he came up to me and he said a few words, Pamela, da-da-da-da. And I thought, oh my word. So I said to the makeup woman, I called her aside and I said, please get the security. This guy has literally been stalking me and I can't believe he's in the makeup room.
That's how Monica Seles got stabbed, yo.
Exactly.
No,
and I
that's
thought,
what
come on.
happened.
And so, and you know, I tend to be very vocal. So I'd make fuss about stuff like that. And it was kind of like, oh, calm down. Because I think there is this thing here, I'll have to say it, because I think in other parts of the world, well, the only part I know
Is the
in
UK.
terms of working is the UK. So there's a kind of, even if they don't like actors or artists,
They understand you're a celebrity.
they do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of protection around you, even when you're not a celebrity, when you're just an actor, you're coming on set. There's a lot of attention and because obviously you've got to be in good shape to do some good work. So there's a lot around you that kind of cushions you. And here you were just kind of laid bare and nobody really going, oh, for goodness sake, you know, get off your high horse. You need to calm down. You need to get grounded. And you're thinking, no. And so you get, you know, more and more dissatisfied, don't you? Because you're thinking, well.
And then to them, you're becoming this belligerent person who's just constantly wanting to cause havoc.
Yeah, exactly.
After the break, we talk about the irony of how when her character in Tsiki Lukelo in Generations was sitting on top of the TV world while Pamela herself was sinking into a deep, dark hole. Come back to us. And welcome back. If you've just joined us on the couch today, we have the powerhouse in acting and writing, Pamela Nomvete. So when you were in Generations, because you were one of, the leads, it was you, it was Silo, it was Vinolia, Karabo, did you, because obviously not all the animals in the farm are the same. You have to be honest with yourself.
Okay.
You know, okay. Did you understand that you were on the good side of the farm?
That's brilliant. I've never quite had it put like that. Yeah, because I think one thing I did have, and always have, is my professionalism and my skill. Whether I think I'm good or bad is kind of irrelevant. I mean, there's times I think, oh no, I was terrible. But in terms of skill and my profession, I know I've got that. And so that I knew nobody could question. And I was quite clear about it. You know, and it's not something flimsy. It was just like, I come in, I do my job, I do it well, and I walk away. Yeah. And I've worked on this. You know, I'm not coming in fly by night, going, what's happening? I studied the script last night. I thought through
We are not
who
doing
she
anyone
is.
a favor here. We're not doing each other a favor. You are bringing the platform, I'm bringing the talent.
Right.
So
we're equal.
Did you find yourself becoming a bit of a leader on set where people would complain to you about things and?
Kind of, but it was I think I had, there was this schizophrenic relationship with me. Because I think on the one hand, yeah, it's true. People did used to come and go, because I would be going, oh, that's rubbish and that's
because
rubbish.
Also the family you come from, you know, you come from a family of like uprisers.
Yes, and you're right. There's a lot of that. In fact, somebody the other day was saying, oh, you know, damn, with your karma, it's too bad, isn't it? You're always a little bit ahead. You've got to be the pioneer. Yes. And I thought, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But so they did, but at the same time, it was kind of, well, you can get away with it because, you know, you got your twang and you got this English thing going.
And we also
actually, do you really think I think you think you're better than, so there was a lot going on. It was very complex.
Because also South Africans, and especially black South Africans, we've got a thing where we think just because somebody's got good English, it means they are superior, eh?
Well, exactly.
So as soon as you open your mouth, you're like,
uh-oh, people have decided who I am. So there was a lot of suspicion and weirdness. So on the one hand, yes, you're right, it was. But then on the other hand, it was, well, who are you anyway? And of course, when it did come to the crunch, you know, it's that thing, you're standing up going, and the producers are saying, you know, you're a bit problematic because we hear you talking in the corridors. And then I'm going, okay, guys, it's not just me. Oh, it is.
like, I'm actually fine. It was, they're the ones who complaining.
You know, yeah.
How difficult was it to date? Because,
hard.
Yeah.
Well, because the whole world is kind of after you, aren't they?
But it's so strange because, you know, it's funny, Penny was here, Penny Levian, and she was like, and because I mean, Penny was also you, like, huge, it was, you know, and she says, and it's so funny, people be like, oh, why did you date him? And you're like, well, because he's the only one who approached me, because men at the end of the day are scared of like women that look like they've got options. Right. Right?
Yeah.
So is that where you found yourself?
No, I mean, I think it was weird because I used to get a lot of attention. But it freaked me out. You know, I don't know, maybe I have psychological issues, who knows. But I was kind of like, oh my gosh. So it's almost like I felt I needed protection.
Because for me, when I read your book and you talk about forbidden lover who was in another relationship and you were just like, okay, that's fine with her then. It's almost like when you are in your position, we have a way of going for relationships that we know are unavailable to us, but that in itself is a way to protect yourself.
Yeah, but I think that's, I don't think it's just being in this position. I do believe, as I'm analyzing myself as the years go by, that's an area with me that I need to look at. This thing of always being in the triangle. And I haven't figured it out yet, although I think I talk about it in the book. Hilda, who basically said, you've got to look at that pattern.
The therapist that both you and Farai were going to.
Exactly. Yeah. And she said, that's something that you have to work through. And then she analyzed it by talking about my relationship with my dad. And I think there's a lot of truth in that.
Have you ever confronted it properly?
Not really. No, it's not like I sat and analyzed it. But I am sort of looking at it and thinking, you know, when she said it, it clicked. I thought, oh my gosh, that is true. And so I start to see the pattern, but even with people who are not necessarily with other people, but in my relationships, I've got this thing of handing over my power so much, like completely. Yeah. And recently I realized that my financial sort of crises, which I'm constantly in.
It was a crisis.
Yes, that was a real crisis.
Like, I don't know what you were thinking.
And then, but I'm always, I mean, money is always an issue, you know, it comes, it goes, it comes, it goes. And I realized that my wealth is linked to my relationships. So then I realized my wealth altogether, my power, I tend to want to just relinquish and give over. And then I feel bereft, I lose. And I think, what is that? But I realize that's the pattern.
Why are you so scared of your wealth? And I like the fact that you say your wealth is also your talent and your being and who you are. It's not necessarily money, your cars or land. Because deeper than that. You are your wealth. Why do you think that is?
I think, and I'm talking to a lot of young women, especially young black women, I think we are taught to be afraid of our strength. So I think, and this is, women all together, we're in a society that's patriarchal globally.
Yes.
It's a patriarchal world. And I think the real power of being a female, people are threatened by. So it's constantly being suppressed. So we've got into this language
you just suppress yourself before somebody else does it.
Yeah, don't do it. You know, and I've often had that, even, that's why playing Siki was quite wonderful in many ways. And then the Kingmaker character, loved it. Because I thought, you know, let's display our power. Because I'm often told as an actress, oh, pull back. Oh, that's too big. And it used to eat, you know, I'd think, oh, no, I'm not very good. And then I realized, no, that's rubbish. It's got nothing to do with it. It's that they are threatened by it. It's like, don't do that. Don't give it. And yet, if you're able to release that power, everybody gains, don't they?
Yes.
Everybody. Because the female power is so nurturing and wonderful.
And the female power
solid.
Takes people with.
Precisely. And it anchors everyone.
Yeah.
But that's why I think the world is off kilter.
Yes.
Because that thing is always being suppressed. And we've just got to get that balance. You need that female power. And I think that has a lot to do with it, where I'm afraid to actually express myself fully as I am, because somehow it's threatening. Changing that, though.
Good. On the way, listen, there was only once or twice in this book where I wanted to find her and be like, throttle and be like, what was wrong with you? We are going to speak about this person called Farai. Yo. And welcome back to Real Talk with me, Anele, coming to you live from Stain City. If you've just tuned in, you're a little late, but don't worry about it. With me, I have the incomparable Pamela Nomvete. She's in studio. Now, we're going to talk about this ex-husband of yours, who I have nothing nice to say about, but, you know, it's fine. What did come from him, which was great in this book, at least, and I'm about to chat to you about it at length now, is the night you met him, you say you were higher for performance and totally open. I found that to be so poetic. Yeah. Because it just kind of led me into your world of performance.
Yes.
And the high you're on,
Yes.
and the fact that it doesn't end when you're on stage. When you come off
Exactly.
stage, it's still with you.
Absolutely.
And it follows. How long does it take for you to, like, you know, come down for that?
Well, a while, because that's why you end up going until 4 o'clock in the morning until it settles.
That is so true.
Like adrenaline, isn't it? It
Yeah,
keeps going. It's
like
wonderful.
keeps you
wonderful.
going, keeps you going. And when you say totally open, what are you basking in your talent, and you're allowing people to come along on this ride with you?
Absolutely. Because I mean, I think what we do is about everybody else too. We're in it together.
Yeah.
So then, you know, you're in love with life, aren't you? In love with the world, in love with people. You know, yes, thank you. I love my audience. I love my work. So it's all of that. So yes, hello.
Isn't
come
that
in.
like a I feel sexy injection as well?
Yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, because
I mean, it's orgasmic.
Yeah.
I mean, performance
Yeah.
is the greatest orgasm because you're just like euphoric. You think, wow, it's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's why I think people are addicted to it. It's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. But that's the thing. It's like that's what you're addicted to, not all the other stuff. The adoration stuff isn't it.
okay,
It's
okay.
it's that. It's the performance thing.
And
But we get confused.
when you meet a man and you
Yeah.
hire for performance and you're totally open, doesn't that put them in a space where they're constantly in love with the character and
Precisely.
not? I don't know which. I think Julia Roberts did it in Notting Hill.
Oh,
She's
did
like,
she?
You go to bed with Julia Roberts and you wake up with me.
Yeah.
Because she used another name.
She's
Emma
completely
Stone.
right.
She called it her character name. But so for you, was it like you go to bed with Nsiki Lukele and then you wake up with
and then
Pamela?
it's me. But you know, and it's interesting you say that because there was a friend of mine when the whole thing fell apart, and he said, "Well, you know what, honey? He was just a fan." And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so poignant because I thought, yeah, right. That's what it was. So that's why he was constantly working to get Nsiki.
Yeah,
Be the
yeah.
celebrity.
Perform.
Be Julia Roberts.
Come on.
Yeah, what's the matter with you? And of course I'm going, human.
I mean, okay, so I'm gonna like quickly, because I don't want to
Yeah,
give away
that's
too
it.
much of the book, because I want people to buy the book. But you date him, then his entire family's moved in with you to an extent
Yeah.
that you have to get a bigger house because you are now taking care of his entire family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Why were you so afraid to just let this man go?
You know, I think it's a combination of things because I think at that point, my self-esteem was already rock bottom. It was just sinking. And I think it's really important. I love the way that you've done this because I love the way that you've gone sort of chronologically through it and looking at the industry, because what we're discussing is this idea of always things being taken, isn't it?
Yeah.
So slowly I was just being broken down. Everything was going out, but nothing was coming in. I wasn't nourishing Pamela. So by the time that thing happened, Pamela had gone. It's like, you know, where am I? What am I? And then I think, you know, trying to get it something. So the identity thing was in there. Then there was the celebrity thing that was in there. So Pamela had completely disappeared at that point. So frankly, it was like, well, you know, what do I identify myself with? This is kind of, oh, is this my family? Is this my husband? Where's my family? Who am I? What am I?
Yeah.
Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. And then you're going to work and there's no joy there. So everything about my life, you know that thing of closing the curtains?
Yes.
That's what had happened. I had closed the curtains on my life. So there was nothing rational that was coming for me. I couldn't take rational decisions because I was in the dark.
Look, there are no rational decisions. This man is bringing another woman home into your house to say, I think she's going to be my next wife. And you're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And don't you, but I mean, that is the level of self-hatred, isn't it? Because it means I've lost kind of, what's the word? Respect for my life.
Yeah.
I've lost respect for my life, for myself. So it's like, abuse me, do
But
it.
were they good times? Because, I mean, there's a part where you say you guys drove to Zimbabwe. Like, there's 3 spiritual enlightenings in the book.
Yeah.
When you went to Zimbabwe to talk to the mountain.
Yes.
Right? I mean, Zimbabwe is not next door. Like, it's next door, but I mean, it's quite a drive. You can't drive that long with somebody you're not talking to.
Oh my, I don't know, I've forgotten, did I include this in it? But I hated, oh Lord, you're bringing it back. I couldn't bear those trips. I couldn't bear them. Because as we would go, then he would have texts, you know, so this
From
thing.
random women.
I hate, no, from this particular one.
And then you have to be like this.
Yeah, and upset, you know, and like, do you have to do this? And I mean, it was awful. But, and I remember, because I hate this word, when people go, how you boo? You okay, boo? Because that's what he used to, that he'd be like, yeah, boo. And I'd be thinking, are you friggin' serious? You're talking to your girlfriend
in front
with
of
your
your
wife, sitting, and we're going to friggin', and often the Zimbabwean trips were to visit his family in Zimbabwe, which I hated doing. So
Your
it
car,
was
your
just
petrol.
a nightmare. I hated those trips. And I couldn't even enjoy the beauty because it was wonderful. Those drives were beautiful. That drive is stunning. And going into Bulawayo, oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful scenery. Africa is a beautiful continent, man.
Yeah.
It's the place to be. But I couldn't even enjoy all of that. In fact, recently I was thinking I must go on a drive like
On
that.
your terms.
On my terms, because I want to enjoy it. It was gorgeous. And even being at the border, you know, the adventure of the border, all that stuff. I was in hell. Oh, I hated them. Gosh, you've really brought that back.
Because we were just like these drives, and I'm like, no, man, I need a road trip. We're playing music, we're singing along,
No,
slow
girl.
jams, we're sharing. I'm a wine gums, I'm opening the water for you while you drive,
No.
my hands on your thigh.
Oh, my dear, no. Oh, no. Gosh, that would be nice. I think I want that in my next life, for sure.
Girl, visit at least once.
Yeah,
least once.
you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
So it was
yeah.
there was never a moment where it was nice with this man.
No, it was, I mean, maybe at the very beginning, kind of. But it really was, you know, and I know many, I think what's important is that this story of mine is not really, it's not necessarily unique. What makes it unique is the fact that I was a well-known person. But I think that many, many, many women, maybe even men, are going through that kind of hell. But you know what, that thing when you're in a situation in your life, okay, you know when someone close to you dies,
Yeah.
right? And life is just going on, isn't it?
Yes.
And you're in this terrible place
Yeah.
where it just seems dark and everything is low and everything is closed and you're kind of going, really? You know,
Yeah,
I'm going
you're
through this and the
how are
world
you
is
out
just
there in a summer dress with the wind blowing in your hair when
Exactly.
I'm here?
When I'm in this place and the sun is
Okay.
rising and the birds are singing and you're going, I don't so that even that becomes a crisis. And I think that's how, that's why I know that I must have been suffering from depression because I was in this hell. You know, my sister put it really well once. Because she suffered from depression. And she said, it's like being in a space where the wind is blowing and it's just dry. And it's just dry wind and you're bereft of anything. You know, you can see it, right?
Yeah.
But the world is going on and you're in that place, in this hell state. So that's what it was like. Yeah, I was constantly. So even if maybe positive things were happening.
You can't even remember that.
Oh, forget it. I couldn't even see it. It's like, what's that? Terrible place.
Terrible place, but obviously she got out of it. For the last time, when we come back, we're going to talk about the rise after the fall. Oh, and what an awesome conversation we're having. Real Talk on 3, thanks for joining us. Now, the saying that goes like this: when you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. And Pamela is a living testimony to that. So 3 times in your book, and I mentioned this earlier, where I think you kind of had like a sort of enlightenment.
Yeah.
1 was when you went to go talk to the mountain in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
2 was when you went to go see the Sangoma in a tin shack in
Yes.
Soweto, I
Yes,
think.
exactly.
And then the 1 is when you went to Baba Credo Mutwa, right?
Yes.
Why did you call the book Dancing to the Beat of the Drum? Because I think it came from that.
It did. I mean, one of the main, those spiritual awakenings are really important because it's linked to my source. And so the whole idea of African spirituality, I celebrate because it is part of your language.
Yeah.
And Kreda Mutra said to me, you know, basically, you've got the gift, right? When I was like, oh, okay. And he said, you must, you know, what you need to do is you've got to get your grandmother, which I'll tell you something about this.
Yeah.
She would like you to get a red and white cloth.
Yes.
And you must dance to the beat of the drum.
Yeah.
So that you can awaken this spirit, this gift, right? And so that thing was very significant. I mean, in a way, I think it, ironically, you're going to go, what? But it led me to becoming a Buddhist.
Oh, but I mean, you start.
Yes, I went
first you
back.
bypassed Christianity.
I went back to Christianity,
And then to Buddhism.
and then I awakened to Buddhism.
Okay.
Because Buddhism embraces everything that the practice I'm in is about everything that you are. So even that side of myself, that African spirituality, is celebrated and respected. And recently, when I was talking about this female power, through Buddhism, because I was talking to a very good friend in faith, amazing woman, and when we chant, I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and you can correlate that to the body.
Okay.
So there's a part Renge, which means lotus flower, and Ren is the heart, and then it goes into the gut and sort of the groin area, right? And that's Ge. So she said to me, you know, it's about, you must awaken Ge. Because that's your gut wisdom, right? And she said that's often suppressed as women. And she was like, you've got to open it, girl. You've got to open it. So I went to a friend of mine who does Reiki, because I said, isn't Reiki, you do that, you open stuff up. And she said, yeah, and I deal with that area. So she did this stuff, goodness knows what it was. And honestly, I felt like this rush of energy. And I even said to her, I just felt the presence of others in the room, and they seemed to want to talk to me. And she said, there's particularly, she didn't know about this, didn't know my story. And she said, I saw a woman, and it's from your maternal side. And she said, I don't know, like a shamanic type character. I said, oh my Lord,
grandmother,
it's that woman. And she said, yeah. And she said, no, but it's not immediate. She said, it's not your grandmother or anything like that. She said, I think she's quite far back. And I went, oh my gosh, it's this woman that's been trying to contact me for so long. And I said, yeah, I'm ready to meet her. So now, in fact, what's beautiful is that at the end of our chanting, we do like these silent prayers. And one of them is prayers to the dead, to your ancestors.
Your ancestors.
And I always just used to, my prayer, I always offer to my parents and to the Nomvetes. And now, since that awakening,
you can
I was
take
like,
it further down the
Komalo,
line.
to my mother's side. I was like, I offer it to Mama Komalo and the Komalo line. So I feel like there's a balance.
Because we taught patriarchy,
Yes,
Africa.
exactly.
Because even when I'm talking to my clan, I just go on my father's side.
See?
Whereas I should also be going to, and my sisters do that, but they're older than me, so they know more. So they keep their lineage to my mother's side as well, because you are half.
Oh, you're both.
You are half.
And the other thing is about that, though, is often people get their spirituality from their mothers. When you hear people talking, they say, actually, it came from my mother. Yeah, of course.
So the first thing I said, but 30 minutes before, no, don't worry, you and I, we went off this. You're back. I was like, 1 hour is not enough. And so we're going to come to a close, but I want to paint this picture for you quickly, right? So you're a big household name, and it allows you to meet, President Nelson Mandela a few times. It allows you to sit down with Winnie Madikizela Mandela a few times. You find yourself backstage with Prince Charles, where he's shaking your hand because of your performance. And you are in Rwanda in a stadium of 100,000 people, and they're watching you in, is it somewhere in April? Sometimes in April, there we go. And there's literally 100,000 people, and you are on the big screen, and you silence them because you've told their story so well. And the same person in the same lifetime finds themselves living in their car, getting cigarettes from a petrol attendant.
Absolutely.
Being locked out of their own house by an ex-husband who has basically taken over your entire life and is taking your money, and all of this happens to one person in one lifetime. And yet you're still here, and we can sit and we can laugh and we can talk. Where are you now?
In exactly what you've just said. that been through that, coming out the other end, here to sit and talk. And I think that's really important in that it's given me a sense of purpose, precisely because, especially in our country, when they talk about artists, it's the gloom and doom, isn't it?
Yeah.
This artist was destroyed. They are now died in abject poverty, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I went through all of that. I am a South African actor. I am an artist. I'm a South African artist because I've been there. I went there. I went all the way down. And you know what? Here I am telling you the story. And it's not that my life is hunky-dory. I'm still meeting amazing challenges. But the point is, I'm so solid in terms of my joy and knowing that every experience that I have is part of making up who I am. And guess what? I'm as vast as the universe, as is everybody else.
I'm as vast as the universe.
Which we are, aren't we? So, I mean, I'm having a lot of joy, and being with you here today, I tell you, that to me is an example of where I've come to. That's what you're representing to me now, because you're fantastic at this.
Thank you.
You're amazing. And I haven't had such an amazing interview for a long time, because I wasn't there. So meeting someone like you and allowing me to share what I'm sharing in this way, and you're the generation that comes behind me, I am blown away. I feel so privileged, and I'm really looking forward to the future. It's going to be a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Almost made me cry there, but you know, I'm gonna get her up like you did in high school. Listen, her book is called Dancing to the Beat of the Drum. You have to go out and get it. I think it's absolutely wonderful. And that's all we have time for today. A big thank you to Pamela Nomvete. You're welcome back anytime for your next book. Thank you from all of us here at Real Talk, from the entire team. Good night. We'll chat tomorrow.